Step 1, wake up for the golden sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in meal. Step 3, grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, add some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo. I think there's a reason, though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they ride. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. So flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gonna rise in the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in meal. Step 3, grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Well, hello, my beautiful people. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. We're going to have some audio issues because I don't have the equipment, the sound equipment. I did bring what I could. We're not going to be on here very long because I'm going to be doing a live later today, taking you guys around this area personally and showing you guys the lay of the land, where everybody's going to be at. I'm hoping that I'm not having too much lag in the system. This is the first time I've been able to get anything. Ooh, I got to sneeze. Ooh, I can't turn my excuse me. One thing that I can tell you is I have allergies in Arizona. But we've got a few things that I did want to show you guys this morning. We do have some new information from Kash Patel. If you guys noticed, I was out at the memorial. I chose not to come live yesterday and opted to update the video because I didn't know if I was going to be able to play the video for you guys if I went live. And I figured you guys would want to see the memorial more than you would want to hear me talk. So I had two choices. I could do the video or go live, but I could not do both because it would take away the viewership from one or the other or both by doing them both at the same time. So hopefully you guys got to see the memorial. You know, you guys know that this has really hit me kind of very close to home. This is very personal to me. This is very upsetting for me. And when I'm upset, I get angry. And when I get angry, I work 10 times harder. And that's kind of where we're at right now as far as how I feel. But we are not here for how I feel. We're here, and of course I forgot to do the one major thing that I'm supposed to do before I start here, and I just seem not to be able to do it. Where is mine there? Is it this one? No, that's not it. Hold on a second, I'm on the wrong one. Let me find which one I'm supposed to be on. Where the heck is mine? Oh, I am on the right one. Okay, I just didn't. So first of all, as many of you guys know, Jimmy Kimmel, I said his name properly, Jimmy Kimmel, he is fired. Like, this is not something that Trump did. This is something that Jimmy Kimmel did himself. But without the assistance of Benny Johnson, he may still have a job. Everybody's blaming Donald J. Trump for silencing, canceling Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, thank you, Serenity. I sent you a news article. They found Travis Decker. Yes, I did see that. Thank you. We will go over that in just a second. Because I only have very limited time on here. I have a meeting today, and so my time is limited to, I've been dealing with a lot of meetings here lately, but my time's limited to how much time I can spend on here this morning. We'll come back later today. But Donald Trump, Obama's out. It seems like everybody's out over at Jimmy Kimmel, somebody that can barely scratch 1.7 million viewers at night on his shenanigans, right? But they couldn't come out for Charlie Kirk that was assassinated in front of children, in front of families, in front of his own family. They couldn't say boo about that, but somehow Jimmy Kimmel's voice is now so important to their cause that they have. I just find it repugnant. I just find all of this repugnant. I just want you guys to pay attention who chose to come out over this piece of garbage, Jimmy Kimmel, which doesn't even believe in what he says. I know this guy, okay? And I know the people that work for Jimmy Kimmel. And I can tell you that the crap that comes out of his mouth, he doesn't really care, okay? It's not like that for him. Despite what people think, Jimmy Kimmel is actually a down-to-earth guy, okay? Do I cry over him being off the air? No, because he was saying things that he didn't even believe in. And I know that for a fact. So bye-bye, but it was a decision from Disney. It was a decision of Sinclair. It wasn't Donald Trump's decision to remove anybody. And let's just face it. We're not in the cancel culture. We're in the consequence culture. Okay? There are consequences to your behavior, and we are going to make sure people are held to that high standard of consequences. We're not here to cancel anybody. And as a matter of fact, Jimmy Kimmel is not canceled. He can go on, pick up a computer just like the rest of us, get on camera, speak to the public. He's not been silenced whatsoever. It's just Sinclair and Disney said they've had enough. That's what it is. But had it not been for Benny Johnson, he would still have his job. So if the left wants to blame anybody about what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, in all fairness, Benny is the culprit. Benny is the responsible party to lay blame on this Jimmy Kimmel situation. I love Benny Johnson. Kudos to Benny Johnson. We're giving him applaud over here. But this is consequences. This is what consequences looks like. So if you don't believe me, let's listen to Benny Johnson. He'll tell you exactly what he did. Again, this is something he chose to do, and as an American citizen, it's within his right to do, okay? I can tell you I've helped fire several people in the state of Florida. I know another one of our Florida Joes helped fire over 20 people in the state of Florida. Another Joe in Ohio just fired the chief of their fire department. So we're active, okay? This bullet didn't do anything but produce 1,000 Charlie Kirks. That's all this bullet did. And so now we're doing it responsibly, and kudos again to Benny Johnson. I'm pretty sure I will be seeing him this weekend.
We begin tonight with podcaster and Trump ally Benny Johnson, who led the charge on this and to have Kimmel either fired. And
I'm not a Fiddle or whatever his name is, the guy that's interviewing Benny Johnson. And Benny Johnson kind of takes him to the mattress too and makes him walk back a few things himself. I've never been a fan. And he's over at News Nation. I don't know what's going on with News Nation. I like some of their people. Yeah, I like one of their people over at News Nation. Only one. Okay, I really don't care about any other one. Okay, there's only one News Nation reporter that I like, and of course my heart will always be with Brian Enton. Okay, he's fierce. He likes the truth. He fights for the truth. He's my kind of guy. I'm not a Kumo guy. I'm not a Fitter or Fettel or whatever his name is guy. I am only a Brian Enton News Nation gal. Okay, and I'm a Benny Johnson, absolutely hands down. He is one of my top favorite. I can't say he's my all-time favorite. I know him, not my top favorite. But he's my top favorite, but not my top favorite. So let's get to him. He has that nice, beautiful grin on his face. He's so proud of himself. And you know what? I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him.
Or taken off.
Is this echoing too? Let me go ahead and fix this real quick while I got it up here so it's not echoing. It shouldn't be echoing. That is awesome. That is awesome. And you guys can still hear me okay? Nice. I figured if you guys couldn't hear me, you'd be telling me I'm muted.
There, Benny, I see you smiling. I think there's a question to be asked here. Is this the free market or is this cancel culture?
Well, let me tell you the background of the story. Perhaps your viewers would be interested in understanding how this actually happened, because yes, this is the free market, and yes, ABC News did the commendable thing here, and they were forced to do so by their broadcast affiliates. Now, I want to frame, and this is very important, Leland, I want to frame what Jimmy Kimmel did here. I like an offensive joke. I like Dave Chappelle. I like comedians that make fun of the right or the left or anyone. I'm a big fan of Kill Tony. This is not about someone telling an offensive joke.
Let's be honest. We're all game for some offensive jokes, okay? Even ourselves being roasted at times are funny. Does it feel good all the time? Maybe not, right? But let's be honest. We're always up for a good roast. So if it was tactful, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. And then, quite frankly, I mimic Benny Johnson's statements when he says we don't want Jimmy to stop talking. As a matter of fact, we want him to keep talking. Every time Jimmy Kimmel talks, he makes the Republican Party look amazing, okay? Because he's such a dirtbag. So we want him to talk. We don't want him to be silent, but there are consequences to your speech. Your speech, you have freedom of speech. You're not going to be arrested, well, unless you're in a, I think we do have some little old ladies still in jail for praying in this country, which is sick to my stomach, right? But we do still have that. I believe there's still a woman that's in jail for praying in front of an abortion clinic, which I find appalling. But everybody else is over here for Jimmy Kimmel, okay? Which, again, repugnant to me. Hello, Sonia. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for the super chats. If you guys would like to donate through super chats, please consider doing so. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I cover true crime, and we're covering the case of Charlie Kirk, which is a friend, I would say a friend, an acquaintance of mine, okay? We weren't on the phone talking every week about how to change this country or anything, but we were at multiple events together. I've had an opportunity to pick his brain. I've had multiple photos with him from around the country, and he was just a bright star in what we tried to do in this country. This country, the efforts that we put forth, at first there was a lot of people scared. There was only a few people that stood up and took the reins back in 2015. And we've been working ever since, over a decade, trying to move the needle in this country to get us back into tip-top shape, which we're failing. A lot of people go to work every day. They just keep working. They don't realize why their money is not stretching as far as it's not stretching anymore. And they're wondering why, right? Everybody's wondering, where's my money going? Where's my money going? And at the end of the day, it's because our government is literally robbing us blind. We want less government. And every time we try to reduce our government, we're getting blocked by they're hell-bent on making sure that there's criminals in the streets, that the law-abiding citizens are condemned, and that they are constantly keeping their neck on their foot on our neck, so we can never get out from under our own government, which we employ. They work for us. They don't own us. But they're trying to make that flip where they start owning us. That's what communism is. Right now, we own our land. In a communist country, the government owns it. Are you really willing to hand over your bank account and your property to your government? Because if you're not, then why are you constantly voting to do that? That's where they're going with the party. And people need to understand that. It has nothing to do with Jimmy Kimmel or his statements. It's the fact, and Benny's going to explain it right here.
This is about somebody crossing the line and creating a dangerous environment, the same style of dangerous environment that got Charlie Kirk killed in the first place.
Amen.
This is what Jimmy Kimmel did. Jimmy Kimmel went on to his audience of millions and said that a MAGA conservative killed Charlie. That's what he said. And then, effectively, by saying that to his audience, he said that Charlie had it coming. Because Charlie Kirk is the leader of the MAGA conservative movement. He is a generational voice for our movement. And so as Charlie Kirk is the figurehead saying that he was killed by his own movement, what you are doing is victim blaming Charlie Kirk. One, that's what Jimmy Kimmel did. First sin. Second sin is that Jimmy Kimmel is messaging to his left-wing audience that if you are a left-winger and you target a conservative, if you target a Trump supporter and you kill them, I, Jimmy Kimmel, and the ABC News platform will whitewash it for you.
That's
I will
the
ensure
issue.
that your true motives, which is left-wing violence, this is...
So that's what that is the justification for this. This is we are the party of consequences, not cancel. We don't want Jimmy Kimmel canceled. But right now, the ABC has a broadcasting license. And if you don't understand what that means, it means they're given special privileges from the federal government to freely encroach in everybody's home through our federal or FCC lines. And that's how ABC doesn't charge you. If you want to go to your ditch the cable and go to antenna, you should be able to get an ABC network anywhere in the country, okay? Even with or without paying for it, because that is an agreement that was made, I don't know, ever since TVs were invented. There was an agreement for these broadcaster license. But those broadcaster license came with very strict requirements. And the requirements are basically you cannot lie to the public. And when you've got a person out here intentionally, willfully lying to the public, that's a huge violation of that broadcaster's license, okay? So although everybody assumed it was Trump threatening to pull the broadcaster license, it wasn't. It was Benny Johnson basically threatening them that you're in violation of your license. And once they started getting wind that they're in violation of their license, and they have, what people don't know is there's a huge multi-billion-dollar deal going on right now between ABC and Disney. And they cannot have anything hamper the business and the amount that business is worth. And Jimmy Kimmel's comments can devalue that entity. So in all fairness, it had nothing to do with Trump. It had to do with a business decision because there is real money on the table for these organizations. And now Benny's starting to scream that you're in violation of your broadcasting license and they're in the middle of a multi-billion-dollar deal. I think that they made a very wise business decision. And that's what people don't want to know. That's what they're trying to withhold from the public. They want to blame Trump for everything. Well, Trump had no hand in this. If you're going to blame somebody, if you're going to call yourself our federal government and that you do awesome research, well, then why are they blaming Trump when it's Benny Johnson? If that doesn't show you how corrupted and how lack of factual research is ever even done by the Democrat side. And you guys are offended because I say I don't like the Democrat side because of this nonsense. Go watch the 9 hours of our judiciary oversight committees. You tell me if that's a functioning government or not. Our government is not functioning for the will of the people, and I'm not going to sit here and paint a picture that it is, because it's not. We are here for a very specific purpose, and it's because our country is failing. Why is our country failing? Because the Democrats are trying to destabilize this country. And if you want the proof to that, Let's look at it. Why would they change the propaganda laws, the Smith-Muntz Act or Munn-Smith Act or whatever it's called? Why would Obama repeal that? So he could turn his media into propaganda machines. That's your first step to destabilization. Then you start changing laws to put the criminals back on the streets to assault the law-abiding Americans. That's destabilization. Now you're starting to go after top key people in a movement. That is in an effort to destabilize America. So where are all these destabilization policies coming from? Well, of course, they're coming from the Democrats and the left. And if you don't believe me, where are all these policies being ran and harbored? From the Democrat Party and on the left. These are indisputable facts. Indisputable. I had an opportunity to do a report, to give an interview with a news organization yesterday out in front of Charlie Kirk's memorial. I wish I would have recorded it. I did not. But by the time I was done talking to them, the crowd that was around me and the reporter ended up giving a just started clapping. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe that this is an awakening for the United States, that people are seeing how we're being destabilized, and there's no purpose to destabilize our government unless there was a purpose, and the purpose does not seem good. It just does not seem good, and it needs to be vocalized. But if you guys want to know what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, well, it's Benny Johnson.
Demonstrable evidence has been provided that this is a left-wing political assassin.
We went through that.
Yep. And so Jimmy Kimmel is lying to his audience. He has a duty, a legal duty. ABC has a legal duty based on their broadcast licensure with the federal government that is lavished upon them by the taxpayer to not lie to their audience, also to broadcast in the public interest. So by doing this, especially on national issues, by doing this, they are in violation of their broadcast license. My program said we are going to speak with Brendan Carr about this. We're going to actually use soft power and see what does the FCC think about this. Brendan Carr went scorched earth this morning on my podcast, saying that this was truly sick and that...
So, again, who did this? Was it Donald J. Trump? No. You know who did this? A political activist. A political activist dethroned Jimmy Kimmel. And it's a political activist that I highly respect, Benny Johnson. Christian guy, loving family, always wanting to do the right thing, doesn't say any bad words. Just a real gem and a peach to a conservative movement. You know why I like this movement? Do you know why I like? My Democrat friends told me Trump sold Parkland at Grand Canyons. Have you ever heard it? These people are living in a twilight zone, okay? They're delusioned, Sabrina. There's nothing I can say. They listen to whatever these yahoos tell them, right? That's what you call a sheep. That's why we refuse to be a sheep, because we don't believe, even our government. When have you ever heard me say, oh, so-and-so said this, so I believe it? No, I do my due diligence. Why do I do my due diligence? It's very simple. I do my due diligence because I trust no one. I've been in true crime now. I've been in politics now. And guess what? No matter what job I'm in, what hat I put on, people lie to me on a daily basis. So do you think I'm going to really believe anything that anybody tells me? You know, I wish people would take the time. But you know what I can do? This is what I can do. I can just show people. I can show people like Benny Johnson is showing people. I have an opportunity to talk about this political stuff on this channel because we're covering a true crime case. We're covering the most prolific assassination in our modern history, and that's with Charlie Kirk, which would have no doubtedly became president one day. He was on trajectory to become a president of the United States of America. And I guarantee it would have probably been in year 3032. He probably would be prepared to be president, to take over this country by 3032 or 2032. He was an amazing person, and we lost that. Thank you, Lady for Justice. And it says free speech is right. Gotta vote, people. You've got to vote. And let's just be very clear on free speech. We all have free speech. What does free speech mean? Free speech means our government cannot come and arrest us and throw us in jail for speaking. But make no mistake, there are still consequences to your speech. And there's still a red line in the sand that you can't cross over your speech either. That's ingrained in our Constitution. For example, you can't run into a movie theater and scream fire or bomb. That is a crime. You can be thrown in jail for your speech in a situation like that. But just because you have free speech doesn't mean you're free from consequences. As we well know, there's defamation laws out there. There's all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, Donald J. Trump is suing the New York Times for $15 billion. Aw, thank you, Lady for Justice. Gifted 1 Bullhorn Betty membership. If you received your Bullhorn Betty membership, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the insane asylum. I wish I could scream, but I don't think the people that are around me in the other rooms would really appreciate it if Betty did that. So we're not going to do that. I would be right at first president. You know what? There is that. I haven't played it, but I know a lot of my audience sent it to me, and it was about a guy talking about a woman with beautiful eyes, and she was going to make real big changes. It was basically biblical. There's something about Charlie that is hard to deny. There was a powerful nature about him. Every time I talk about him, my whole body is covered in goosebumps. This man was so dedicated to the church and so dedicated to his cause that it's hard, because you heard him speak about the Bible so passionately. He knew what he wanted to do at the age of 12. I mean, it's almost so real. I don't think people, I just don't think people understand how wonderful this man was, and I want them to know he was amazing. He's everything that we strive to be in this life. Literally everything. And he got it at before 31 years old. He got it. I wish I was so blessed to have gotten it at such a young age and just knew exactly where I was going to go and how to get there. I didn't have that grace. I had a very bumpy road I had to go down in order to find that grace. But that was my walk. I totally disagree with this Kimmel thing going on. Well, you know what? And I get that. And I disagree with everything going on myself, but I am definitely one that is all for consequences. Everybody has consequences for the crazy stuff that they do. We go out, we protest, we're held to account for some of the things that we do. We still do the things knowing that some of the stuff is controversial, but we understand the risks and we choose to take them. This idea that people are so shocked that there's risks with their speech is bizarre to me in 2025. We all know that there's consequences to everything you say and everything that you do, especially in the public light.
That Disney and ABC News will suffer consequences for this, because this is a malicious lie told about a good and honorable man, the single worst left-wing political assassination in our lifetimes. Now, what happened next? My program and my producers continue to hit the bricks and call local stations, call the local affiliates, and ask if they are going to be broadcasting Jimmy Kimmel. Given the FCC's commentary...
So he went, this is the one thing that people don't understand and why we are so effective. And you're going to hear Benny Johnson explain it just like this. We don't play around with insignificant people, okay? Why is our way of doing things so effective? Because we go to the decision makers. When I have problems, do you think if I've got to take a meeting on a Saturday to get in front of a decision maker, or take 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday of all days to speak to a decision maker, I'm taking that phone call, because that is the difference between us and them. Is we go straight to the decision makers. We go to the people that can start putting in legislations and stuff like that. That's for my take. But Benny Johnson, went to the decision makers of Sinclair. He went to all of the affiliate stations and started pressuring them to pressure the hierarchy, Sinclair. So once you get in front of the decision makers, you see how effective that is. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, you think somebody's going to do this and sit down with you? It's like, I don't play. The reason why I'm so effective is because I travel all over this country. I meet a lot of politicians. I go to events where I put myself in a room with a whole bunch of decision makers, and I network with those decision makers. You guys watched me do it long before we got to this point. The original channel, this channel right here that I ended up converting to the Bullhorn Betty channel, was a political channel. For my political activism. I was putting all of my videos from my, if you guys go down, I think there's still some active. If you go all the way to the inception, I might have removed them, but they should still be there. There should still be a lot of stuff, from May to November of 2021. That was my political activism. That's where I put all my, when I was screaming at my politicians, I get heated. I get heated in these things. I'll bang my hand down. I'll scream. I'll raise my voice. I will be heard. We try to tone it down, though. Now that I got politicians, I like a little bit. A few of them I've got to take out, in political terms, get them off their seat, dethrone them, so to speak. But for the most part, I haven't really yelled too much at my current politicians. But boy, back in 2019 and 20, I would be in there screaming at them, just screaming. Just how I roll, okay? I'm not a Betty Johnson and I'm not a Charlie Kirk. I'm a Bullhorn Betty.
And given the liabilities that Disney has put on them. And a huge compliment to Nexstar and a massive compliment to Sinclair Broadcasting, who both told us in statements that are now public that they are going to end the Jimmy Kimmel Show. They're going to rip the Jimmy Kimmel Show off the air. That took Jimmy Kimmel out of 37 million households. I didn't make that decision. Brendan Carr didn't make that decision. It was the affiliate stations. These are the organizations that own the actual broadcast stations. They manage them. ABC News simply creates the content. And so this is absolutely the free market. This is the local stations declaring that they will not try to defend the indefensible, and they said so in their statements. So this is absolutely 100% justifiable. Sorry for the long answer, but it is important for everybody to understand this is not an attack on free speech. This is not because somebody told a naughty joke that we don't like. This is because Jimmy Kimmel did the indefensible, and he victim blamed Charlie Kirk's political assassination on himself, on Charlie.
So I think what you're trying...
So before we get in here into John's other counter... Like I said, I'm not a fan of this guy right here at all. I don't like him too much. I've never really liked him. I just... There's something about him. Maybe it's the way he puts his hair too perfect. I don't know. I've always had a bad vibe with him. No matter what channel he's been on, I've always had a bad vibe. Thank you, Miss Robin, for gifting a Bullhorn Betty membership. If you received your Bullhorn Betty membership, don't forget to tell Robin thank you. And for you, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard. It's going to be a bumpy ride. We definitely appreciate it. I knew it. There it is. And people were just talking about this. We're going to take just a small little detour real quick, just to have this conversation. So many of you guys are just found me for the first time covering the Charlie Kirk case. Well, I'm not only a political activist, I'm also a victim right advocate and activist, and I also report through my Bullhorn Betty channel on a journalistic front my findings of my investigative work on these crime cases. And so with Charlie Kirk being one of mine, one of our movements, a key leader in our movement, I've decided to take on this case. But prior to Charlie Kirk and prior to providing my political leanings on this channel, we are truly a true crime channel where everybody comes together to help in true crime cases. And one of those cases was Travis Decker. And Travis Decker, do I have any... I don't think I have any. Let me see if I got anything over here for Travis Decker. I do not. Let me see if I can, I thought I might have some Travis Decker stuff, but I do not have any Travis Decker stuff on here. So at the end of the day, Travis Decker was accused of unaliving his 3 beautiful children, 3 girls, and I had believed there was a huge manhunt in Washington State for Travis Decker. Even though they were on this major manhunt and going through all this stuff, I had maintained from the very beginning, because I did a psychological profile. I did, I looked at a lot of statistics and stuff, because that's part of my job. And for me, even though I was providing my audience what law enforcement wanted us to tell to the public, providing them information, I believe that Travis Decker was within 2 miles of where he unalived his 3 beautiful kids. And then I expanded that to 5 miles because they couldn't find him. But I had always believed he self-harmed. I always believed he was deceased, and I always believed he was very close to his girls where he was laying. And now, despite a lot of doubt in myself and my analysis of this case, I still stayed true up until the first round of remains that they found near the girls that weren't Travis, that came back as non-human bones. And so I was finally came to the acceptance of my analysis being inaccurate and that he must be on the run. Well, we're finding out over the last 24 hours, law enforcement is more confident than I've ever seen, even though the DNA has not come back. It being Travis Decker, for whatever was on his person, leads them to believe that they do have Mr. Decker, his remains, and we're learning that they were a little over a half a mile away from the girls. So it was in my very first assessment of the Travis Decker case was spot on. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. Once again, not only Leilani were we right about, not only were Idaho 4 we were right about, not only with Colin Knapp and Kathleen Moore, we were right about that. It led the neighbor to the right area to find the body. We have been right on a lot of fronts covering the true crime case that we cover, and this is one of the other ones that I'm happy to say. And it's not, it's a pat on the back a little bit, but it's also a message to everybody out there. I'm a normal Joe. I'm an average Joe. And I do a lot of research on these cases. It's not that I've worked in law enforcement. I do have legal experience. I've, got an AA in paralegal studies. I've worked for several attorneys, including one that went off to become a federal judge. Way back in my career, in my 20s and I think maybe early 30s, I ended up walking away from the legal field. I was just overworked. I was burnt out. And so I went into real estate. And so some of that stuff has maintained and stayed with me over these years of not being in it. And then, of course, I apply the stuff I learned in my college to the true crime cases. But it doesn't go there. It's just showing people you just have to have common sense, and you just have to ask your questions, what gets us from point A to point B, and start researching those areas, those critical areas. And a lot of the stuff that I pay attention to when I'm searching is statistical search histories. Where were people found statistically from certain crimes? And that really does help identify search areas, how many miles out. We have statistics that say, basically when you're in a rural setting, your area can be, 20 to 50 miles wide. This was definitely a rural setting. It was the mountains. So it was a large, in statistical information, it was a large of his personal history. That is what identified. I had to look at that history of 20 to 50 miles, but I also had to look at the psychological profile of Travis Decker, and that psychological profile identified he was more likely to be self-harm. And the fact that he was going through all of these things, we found out that he had 2 wrecks leading up to to his children's death. So that tells me that he was getting ready to lose his license and his vehicle, and that means he would have never been able to see his kids. All this stuff was stacking against him. And I think he snapped. And that's what his ex-wife said, is that he's never hurt these children. He's loved these children. He always loves these children. And she believed he snapped. And so adding all of those things together, not just the statistics on the area that needed to be searched, but also applying the psychological statistics of him being in the military, having this spiraling effect, led me to believe that he would be much closer to those kids and he would have committed self-harm. And it sounds like this is what we're finding out in the case to be true. So thank you all for allowing me to bend your ear on the Travis Decker case. What a sad case that was. But, it just shows you that you don't need to be book smart to understand what is going on. All you have to do is be willing to learn, be willing to read, be willing to research. And right now in our country, all of those things are necessary, because I need my audience not to take my word for what's going on in this country, but realize something serious is going on in this country. And you guys need to start paying attention and reading and researching politics. I understand you don't like it, but you better get right with it very soon, because things are not good at all in our country. We are teetering on something that we've never teetered on before, okay? And I don't want your heads being in the sand when the teetering has collapsed, okay? We're teetering. It looks like something's tumbling one way or the other. So you all need to be getting right with understanding what's going on here, and you need to be plugged in and paying attention, even after we stop talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination. You guys are going to have to get right with it, because there's going to be more coming if we don't do something about it.
Trying to set up is rightfully sort of a pre-defense to the idea that this is cancel culture, right? You're saying if there had been another...
Guys, I do want to tell you we're working off cheap internet, from cheap hotel internet, which is never good. So if there is any type of skipping or stuff like that, I do apologize. It's most likely me, not you, because I'm running an entire show. This is why I was running off of my phone. But I'm running an entire show, and it's showing me my drop rate is I'm not getting good bandwidth. So just bear with it. Just listen if you have to. But the information is still good, even if our lips aren't syncing or things are, whatever.
Person shot, and any other TV host or news anchor or anybody else had victim blamed, right? That then... though that person would be fired or taken off the air too. This just happens to be because it was a left-winger doing it. That's why everyone is so aghast at it happening.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. If you were to reverse all of these things, it is as monstrous. And it is, by the way, a duty. This is the difference between us and the left-wing corporate media ecosystem right now, is because it would be my duty, actually, as somebody who's on the right, to disavow someone who was victim blaming for a leftist who was murdered in front of his family.
Okay. So
we do not call for murder. We are about nonviolence.
Right.
We are nonviolence. We don't call for this stuff. That's why we have a historic 3% of our entire party that thinks taking matters into their own hands, as opposed to the Democrat side that has over 25% more. It's ridiculous. People think it's about civil war. My husband took a wrong turn last week and landed in the middle of a huge oof. So they're coming together for something. I hope that is not accurate, because if it is, I'm going to tell, then we've got to segregate, because I do not support anything to do with neo-Nazis, KKK people, or anything like that. They're toxic. They're just as bad. They're toxic for our country. We need unity, not division. It's just something I just don't believe in. My family personally is a Heinz 57 family, so I'm not 100% white. I'm not 100% Caucasian, and those type of people, they scare the crap out of me. Much like Muslims do. Not just normal traditional Muslims, but the whole Islam religion bothers me. I've got people that I know that are Muslims, that are the sweetest people in the frickin' free world. I don't know how they're associated with these deranged lunatics of the Islamic State and stuff like that, but that scares me, and I just don't believe that the normal Muslims are listening to that. But they say they all read the same book, so it scares me. I won't lie, So if it scares other people, you're more than welcome to communicate that on this channel, because it's militant, and I can't get behind any religion that's militant.
Right, and before before we changed things when Jimmy Kimmel was suspended, we went through that, right? Because there were a number of shootings by people with what you might call a right-wing ideology. There was the Pulse nightclub shooting, there was the Dylan Roof shooting, there were people who had racist, anti-gay, whatever ideologies, and everybody on the right came out and condemned it.
Pulse nightclub shooting was Islamic terrorism. Hold on.
Islamic terrorism.
Pulse nightclub shooting was ISIS. What are you talking about?
Islamic terrorism.
Oh, I won't allow that. This happened with me on Cuomo the other night. I won't allow it. No, hold on.
Benny getting down. He's like, absolutely not. And you can see John's just sitting here trying to talk over him, but Benny's going to have the word on this, I guarantee it.
I'm going to correct the record right now.
Okay.
So, Pulse nightclub was an Islamic terrorist, ISIS shooter.
Benny,
are you saying that that's on the right?
No, I'm not. Benny, just hear me out.
All right.
Okay, I covered the Pulse nightclub shooting. Forgive me.
But you said that that's considered right-wing. That's right-wing violence, and I want you to correct that.
It is corrected. But I'm correct. What I'm saying is that when the Dylan Roof shooting happened, I'm making your point for you. When the Dylan Roof shooting happened, every Republican came out and called it racism. Did they not?
Yes.
Right. And
because
my point being here is
disavow it. Yes.
Right. My point being here is that when it happened on the right, or when there was right-wing ideology associated with it, the right called it and named it what it was.
And I agree that is 100% accurate. They called it out. Everybody denounced it. It was disgusting. It's deplorable. And we got the guy, and we're throwing him in jail. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He was disgusting. The Hortman and Hoffman case, we denounced it. We came on here and ran the story. You didn't hear us cheering it on. You didn't hear us. We even said violence is not the answer. We do not believe in violence. And I'm so disgusted that they keep bringing Hortman and Hoffman up. But I beg for anybody to please provide me all the politicians, all of the teachers, all of the first responders cheering that on. Okay? Please, I'd like to see where the whole world was cheering on Hortman and Hoffman's death. Absolutely do not, Dragon Lady. So we do not promote violence, and that's the reality of that. We do not. But please show me where we went out and started dancing and celebrating that Michelle, or whatever her name, Hortman and Hoffman, the two congressmen from Minnesota. Please show me where we danced and celebrated that. Please. Please. I am so interested. I am truly, truly interested in learning where we did that. Because I can tell you it bothered me. It bothered me so much that I ran a story on my show about it. And I'm sure it bothered a lot of Americans.
When it's happening on the left has not done that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
They have not done that. As a matter of fact, they're more upset about Jimmy Kimmel instead of somebody's life, which should be repulsive to anybody that votes that way.
All right, so we're in agreement now.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes, and I don't like the both sidesism, and it is important. It is incumbent to hit back on that with direct data.
Amen.
From YouGov and from Gallup. I will cite for you two polls. One poll of the left saying that the left is 3 times. This is from YouGov. 3 times more likely to believe that political violence is a alternative to debate.
So 3 times more likely the Democrat side is okay with hurting people as opposed to debate. So who really doesn't like freedom of speech? Is it the right or the left? Because they're saying 3 times more likely to end your speech with violence. That seems pretty dictatorship. That seems pretty fascist to me.
Okay, so I think
according to Gallup, the left is twice as likely.
Agreed.
Twice as likely to celebrate, to be willing to celebrate the death of one of their political adversaries. So the data shows that the left
agreed.
is
I know
the
you
party
don't watch the
violence.
show every night. Understandable. We did a number of segments on those polls.
Yeah.
This would be my question, though. I think what we're seeing for the first time, and you've led this charge, is that somebody, a member of the liberal elite, if you will, which I think Jimmy Kimmel's a member, has had to pay a price, right? This has never happened before.
Yes, and thank you for asking that question, Leland. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we've all had consequences for our freedom of speech, but everybody on the left, they never have consequences. We're now making sure that they also have equal consequences, because we are the party of the consequence culture, not the cancel culture.
Because this is what Charlie would have wanted. Charlie's dream, and I worked with Charlie for a decade, building and speaking across the country and creating Turning Point USA. What Charlie had dreamed of is a cultural power where you can reach even into the blackened, dark heart of Hollywood, into the highest ivory towers of Hollywood, and to create accountability for monstrous behavior on behalf of a moral nation. 37 million households did not want Jimmy Kimmel to be broadcast into their homes. They were disgusted by what he said about Charlie.
Okay.
He doesn't like that answer. Okay, we're getting close to out of time, so I wanted you guys to hear.
In the crowd.
I'm not going to interrupt too much, but Kash Patel, obviously they're giving us some more details on what happened with this. But I just wanted the audience to know, where did this firing of Jimmy Kimmel come from that Trump's being, basically torn apart as being involved in? He wasn't. You know who the drumbeat was? It was Benny Johnson and his team. Okay? And they were very effective, and they got the job done. So now that we can lay that to bed, and any politician that continues to run with the story that Donald Trump did this, they are lying to you. So why would they want to lie to the public? When is the country going to get sick of being lied to? When is it okay for our politicians, even on the left, to continuously lie to the public? When is enough for you? You know when enough's for you? Is when you start picking up the phone and telling your politicians on the left that you're done.
Or anywhere else assist in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. In other words, is there any evidence to suggest that the shooter might have had help?
As I've said from the beginning, this is an extensive and exhaustive investigation, and I can only speak from the FBI's perspective, that is still ongoing. We are still triaging voluminous amounts of data. We're still interrogating numerous witnesses, and we're going into devices such as cell phones and laptops and extracting data. And so that's the expertise of the FBI that we're bringing and working with our state and local partners. And as we get information that is of value, we turn it over immediately to the prosecutorial authorities for them to make their decision.
Okay, why hasn't Lance Twiggs, the boyfriend, been arrested? Don't the text messages prove that he knew that Tyler Robinson assassinated Charlie Kirk and that he did not turn him in? Why hasn't he been arrested?
Again, the charging decisions will be made by the prosecuting authorities in the state of Utah, and so we will leave those decisions to them. We are working 24/7 to provide all the evidence we can to them in a timely fashion. That's why we were on the scene almost immediately, and that's why we've been flying back and forth, not just personnel, but also DNA matters, and also these devices that you speak to. Thankfully, the FBI has regional centers scattered across the country, and we're able to exploit these devices, and that's why you have the text messages. And the text messages speak for themselves, but we're still going. We have more work to do.
Okay, and I know, Mr. Director, that you knew Charlie well, so this hits personally as well, happening just...
I think it's very interesting because, he's given us word salad. This is what I'm talking about, even from our side. He's giving us word salad, right? He's basically not alleging that there are additional entities involved or different people involved, but if there wasn't something more, then they wouldn't be still under the same type of broad investigation. Their investigation would be more narrow. And they're, as you're seeing from Kash Patel, it's still not a narrowed organization from the FBI. They still have a very, very, very wide net, and they are looking at everything, including the finances of everyone and who was around. Now remember, we had weird people at the house, at Tyler's house, 2 weeks prior to this event, a week to 2 weeks prior to this event. Now, if we recall, one of the statements made, "Oh, thank you, Claire, for becoming the newest member of our crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket and your padded room and welcome aboard." That governor is pro-trans. And see, that's another thing that we're going to have a problem with, is because I am very, very concerned about that. Now, I guess there's a double tap feature on the screen to like the live. It's a free way to show. Don't forget to double tap your screen to give me a like. I really do appreciate that. I've been hearing a lot about Cox being crooked. I've been hearing, I think we're all well aware of that, but we have federal oversight over this case. So the governor and the charging people are allowed to do what they'd like, but I can guarantee that there are federal charges that can be had. So I'm not too worried about their, because if they fail at this mission, at this main mission of prosecuting this guy, or other people that are involved within their state. Now, mind you, a lot of people came from out of state that was at Tyler's house. If you heard the neighbor talked about license plates from different states, and that the people going in and out of the property appeared weird and gave off a bad vibe. That's what the neighbor said. So all of those people are under investigation. They are going to locate every single person that was there. They're going to find out how it was funded. We know that the firearm that was used is Tyler's grandfather's. I had an opportunity to listen to Candace Owens. Now, I'm going to say this very, very clear, and I want everybody to understand. I like Candace Owens to an extent, okay? I also know that Charlie and Candace Owens' so-called friendship had been fractured for several years, to the point where she wasn't even a part of the Turning Points USA events anymore. So this idea that this is her best friend and all this other stuff, okay, there's a little allusion to that as well. Now, do I believe she cared and worked next to Charlie for many years, and no matter what type of disagreement you have over those years, if something happens to them, your heart bleeds, you knew them well, they were a friend in your heart, I understand that. But I also believe in Charlie and Charlie's mission, and he had choices of a lot of spiritual advisors and pastors in his life. And I'm not dissing her, Phil. I'm not dissing her. I'm just I'm calling out and putting her behavior in check. She starts criticizing the pastor because the pastor wants everything for the sake of Charlie. You know, he wants Charlie to be memorialized based on his own merit, not used as a beating mechanism, if you will. He just wants that. He just wants the political aspect to, just until he's buried, from my understanding, until he's put to rest, just to chill. And she was so disrespectful, in my opinion, to this preacher's statements of that. I didn't find any offense to it. None where I've got to bow up and say, you know, you're wrong for saying. And first of all, I found it wholly disrespectful for her to come down like that on somebody that Charlie Kirk has clearly identified as his pastor and his spiritual advisor. And he loved, you know, this guy traveled with him all over the world. And I just found it tasteless that she would attack a man of faith that just wants peace. You know, I have no qualm with it. I'm going to still act the way I'm going to act over this case. And you don't see me being disrespectful to a man of the cloth that just wants peace and honor to Charlie. Do we believe that this could be a number of things? Yeah. Could it be somebody from our side that manipulated the mind of this? I hardly doubt it, but you know, there's always those speculations. Who's responsible? Because we feel like there's an outside foreign agent involved. Who is it? Is it Saudi Arabia? Is it, you know, Iran? Is it Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu and Charlie Kirk have had strained relationships. We know that he was threatened by Israel, physically, threatened of harm by Israel or finances or something to that effect. We know that is a reality and a possibility. She is very bitter. And I understand, and that's where I'm coming with it. She's hurt, and so she's just blaming a lot of people, but she needs to calm down and get her head in the game, because she does have 5 million people that are watching her. And, she doesn't have any information, and she's putting out a lot of speculation without any facts, trying to force somebody's hand. But let's face it, the difference between the political side and the true crime side is we have a better understanding of law enforcement practices and procedures, and clearly she does not. And that is the one thing that I noticed in her rants and rave yesterday about this, and about how, it could be, we want to know who it is, that this is an FBI cover-up, and, it stinks so bad, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, girl, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because they can't, she's like, well, they should just be able to show us the video. They should be, he's in jail. Like, no, they can't. Until it's produced by Discovery at this point, we're never going to see it. Okay? So this illusion that, and of course this right here, she has a problem with the statements of the, what, are you joking? All these text messages. One of the major catalysts for her and her statement is that there's no times or dates of these. They're just written out like this without any dates or times, and she finds that awfully sus. And so I understand her concerns, but how she was delivering it, I cannot get behind. I do like her, like I said, but how she, the last one I watched of her going on this rant, and then the ending is, well, I don't really have any information about this, but if they just show it to me, I'll tell my audience it is. And I'm like, okay, I'm done.
8 days ago. Let's talk about the text messages. Does the FBI believe that they could have been, like a pre-planned setup to hide any involvement that Lance might have had in planning this assassination?
Now that the state case has been brought and the charges have been alleged, I have to withhold any sort of stylization of the evidence. Because there's more evidence coming in, literally every...
That is the part right there that Candace Owens does not understand. And she thinks that they can just hand this stuff over. No, they can't. Now that this has already been, the charges have been brought, they've got to be careful with what they release and what they say. Because this could be the matter of whether the kid walks or not for gross violation of, federal law. Oops, sorry. Let me get back to this. I accidentally hit the wrong thing. I think right here. Sorry.
Now that the state case has been brought and the charges have been alleged, I have to withhold any sort of stylization of the evidence. And because there's more evidence coming in literally every single day as we interrogate witnesses who knew these individuals and who knew the suspect and the family members as well, we're getting more and more information. And those are critical pieces of information that we have to hold in the evidentiary chain of command so that prosecutors can use it at trial. The worst thing that we can have happen is if we mishandle evidence and then they cannot use it at trial. That would be an injustice to Charlie Kirk.
All right, we're showing video of the moment that Tyler Robinson jumped off that roof about 15 feet. Mm-hmm. He drops down to the grass below, Mr. Director. We do not see anything that looks like a gun in his pants. We don't see it. Where is the gun, according to the FBI, in this video? And I understand that this is just surveillance from quite a distance and it's grainy, but we don't see anything there.
Well, as we know, and look, I walked the steps myself when I got to the crime scene at the university there in Orem, Utah, and what happened was the shooter, as you saw, jumped off the rooftop, and then we retraced his steps to where he discarded the firearm in a wooded area next to the campus, and I walked that ravine. and he discarded the firearm in its entirety with the towel wrapped around it. And one of the critical pieces of information we were able to pull was DNA off the towel, and also DNA off a screwdriver that was found on the rooftop where the shooter was positioned in a prone position to take the shot that he took to kill Charlie Kirk. And so we were able to quickly analyze that DNA and come back with a positive match for the suspect. That's the type of evidentiary value that the FBI brings and critical analysis that we bring. And the rest, in terms of putting the entirety of it together, we're still looking at a lot of video, piecing it together. There was 1,000 hours, maybe 800 hours of video that we're trying to look at in totality from all the different camera angles. So it's very hard to do. We're working with the university as fast as we can, but they have one system in place, and we're working with them, and they've been great partners.
Okay, let me ask you about that, and I want to get to the roof. I asked the mayor of Orem why the roof wasn't covered. Looked like Butler, Pennsylvania, all over again. But this
And this is another thing that I don't understand. At this point, I think we should be well versed that these targets are utilizing roofs. They have been for the past century. So why do we keep making the same mistake over and over again? I just that's my problem right there, is why does this keep happening? Candace already has the French government after her. She needs to be careful. I really worry about her. Well, you know what? We all have somebody after us, right? And she doesn't go and make as much public appearance that she used to. You know, I mean, a lot of us haven't, which is sad, you know, that they've treated us. So I'm going to get out more. I'm going to start being more vocal. I mean, at the end of the day, I should have been dead by 25, so I'm 45, or I'd like to say that. I'm 46 now as of September 17th. So, you know, I've lived 21 years after the time that I should have been, you know, and so at this point, we just all need to be getting out of there unafraid and showing support for these causes, because, you know, we cannot have an assault on our First Amendment, and we cannot be scared to utilize our First Amendment. And it seems like the Democrat Party has been hell-bent on making us fearful. They keep throwing the criminals out on the streets to hurt us. They give us, literally, we feel hopeless and helpless with nothing to do. You know, we have no say in this, because this is our government that we hired to make these decisions, and they're making terrible decisions. And the only people suffering from these decisions are American citizens. Open border policies, the fentanyl, hundreds of thousands every year dying from that. When you have a surge of 12 million to 25 million people coming across the border in 4 years, it put a strain on our country. All of these things were brought about to destabilize America. Our country, no country can handle a wave of 25 million people in the country. You show me what country can handle that. You know why we were having a housing crisis? I mean, look at all the stuff we've been going through. And we can identify every single reason why we're going through it as being a Democrat policy. And everybody thinks that we're just nuts. And it's not. It's just people are not pulling their heads out of their butts fast enough to see what's going on.
Time the assassin was effective. Let me talk about the video. I know you can't make it all public, but there's one video in particular, Cash, a gentleman who was standing just behind Charlie Kirk with his cell phone with a hat on, filming this the entire time. Why hasn't that video been made public?
Again, the collection of videos, and look, I was in the room where all of this backpacks, razor scooters, textbooks, cell phones, and things were seized from the people that were in and around Charlie when he was shot. And we're also going through that material and others to analyze them. And we can't do that instantaneously. We're doing it as fast as we can. And as we've done during this entire investigation, if there's a single piece of evidence that points to anyone else's involvement in this tragic assassination, we're going to bring it to bear, and we're going to publicize it as soon as we can with our partners through the prosecutorial process.
Yeah, Mr. Director, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald died in prison. Jeffrey Epstein allegedly died in prison. How concerned are you about the safety of the suspect here, Tyler Robinson,
Interesting.
making it to trial?
I think the Utah authorities have spoken to that directly. They've got him on critical watch, and they have him in a location where he's, I believe, segregated from the rest of the population. So I think they have that well covered.
All right, I want to play you a soundbite from your lengthy hearing or testimony on
I got to tell you, you know, if we recall, so was that creep Epstein. He was in solitary confinement too, and he still managed to not make it, allegedly. And I still have questions about that, because there's something that I feel is really like, where is his body? Was it cremated or was it buried? You know, and if you go and research it, that has been that's confidential. They will not tell us where his body is. If you don't believe me, do your own research.
Capitol Hill over the last 2 days. Let's listen.
He's smiling because he knows damn well I want to kiss Kash Patel. If he's married, I'm sorry to your wife. I don't want to kiss you like that. I just want to give you a big hug and a kiss. But I was so proud of Kash Patel, and you can see he's proud of himself because his eyes just lit up, and he's kind of grinning from ear to ear. I think he did an amazing job. Just me personally.
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the question
they failed to meet the muster in their constitutional obligation.
I will work on the audio-visual.
I can't stand this guy.
Borrow your term.
This guy right here, he's another Hunter Biden. Okay? And if you guys know what I mean by that, he's another Hunter Biden. I believe that he's the one that had a Chinese spy that he was dating. He's smoking the glass. That guy right there, I don't know who put him in office, but you guys are twisted. He is a Hunter Biden 2.0. And you guys are absolutely insane for keeping him in office. I mean, if you want a glass pipe smoker running our country, keep voting him in. I can't believe you guys don't know that by now.
Terminology and called your entire career in Congress.
Reclaiming my time,
It's been a
Director.
disgrace to the American
Director, I'm
people.
reclaiming my time,
You can
Director.
reclaim your
No, you
time all you
refuse
want.
yourself.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak this way?
Mr. Chairman, would you recuse yourself, Director?
Jim Jordan's laughing.
Admonish the witness not to insult members.
Why don't you try serving your constituents?
Jim Jordan's trying to keep a straight face. Did you guys see that? I was driving when I heard this. I didn't see anybody's face whatsoever during this thing. I was only listening. But now that I saw, Jim Jordan smack the gavel, this is the first time I saw Jim Jordan. And you could see right when he went to start hitting it, he had a smirk on his face. And they were like, are you going to let him talk to him like that? And he's just pounding the gavel. I didn't realize that. That was great. That made my day.
By focusing on reducing violent crime in this country and the number of pedophiles that are legally harbored in your sanctuary cities in California. I'll work with you on that. Do you want to work with us on that?
Mr. Director, I just want to get your response to what you went through the last 2 days.
Somebody's saying replay it. Okay, I gotta replay it. That
Where the left calls people enemies of the republic, calls
okay, that's gonna be the last thing. Sorry, I hit the wrong thing. Let me get back over here. We'll get the whole look. Look at that face. Come on. Look at that face. He's trying not to smile. He's covering his smile, but they got it. They kind of got it. He's not seeming like he's pounding the gavel. He's doing what he's required to do. But we'll go back just a little bit. Give me just a second. Let me go back.
Visual capabilities.
I'm going to borrow your terminology and call your entire career in Congress.
Reclaiming my time,
It's been a
Director.
disgrace to the American
Director, I'm
people.
reclaiming my
You
time,
can
Director.
reclaim your
No, you
time all you
refuse yourself.
want.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak this way?
Mr. Chairman, would you recuse yourself, Director?
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman,
would you admonish the witness not to insult members?
Why don't you try serving your constituency
Director,
by
did you tell the
focusing on
Attorney
reducing
General
violent
Donald
crime in this
Trump
country and the number of pedophiles that are
Director,
legally
reclaim your
harbored in
time,
your
Director.
sanctuary cities in
Director,
California?
reclaim-
So he's screaming at him, the pedos that you're harboring in your thing. Like, he went off. This is what I'm talking about. You know what? This is the dysfunction in our government right here. This is the dysfunction. Do you think anything got done in these hearings? Zero got done for the American people in these hearings. All it was them arguing back and forth, arguing back and forth, arguing back and forth. Zero is getting done for our country. We have a government that is not functioning for the will of the American people. And when you go and watch, I don't even want to put my own terminal. I would prefer that my audience go and watch the 9 hours just like I had to listen to all the way here. If you are not embarrassed by your government, and I predominantly Democrats, because while the Republicans were putting in actual reports like DOJ reports, DOD reports, reports from government entities, from before Trump's administration to after Trump's administration, and these yahoos on the left, you know what they put in? They put in news articles from CNN, Politico, Guardian, as if those are not just littered with opinions versus actual facts. So one thing that I learned from this 9 hours that I was listening to is here is the cycle of misinformation. So what they do is they have somebody like Adam Schiff or James Comey leak information, leak intelligence to a news organization, typically New York Post, The Guardian, Politico, and then they write an article that's usually leaning one side, obviously, and then they take that article and they use that article to manufacture all these investigations in the government. They're using the news, that corrupt news propaganda. Remember, the same news organizations that Obama said, hey, you can now start writing propaganda because we've removed the Smith-Muntz Act or whatever it's called. And so now you can be a propaganda machine. And so now that that's been a propaganda machine, now they're taking these articles that at one time used to be mostly true and entering them into the record wherein the articles are mostly false. Do you see how all this is just... And when you look at the whole design, guess who it comes back to? The Democrat Party, the hierarchy of the Democrat Party. Do I have hate in my heart for moms and pops of the Democrat Party? No, I love thy neighbor. I love thy neighbor. But it's my opinion that they need to see what they're voting for, because many of them are too busy working and just think that they're hiring people to keep our government going. Well, they're not. They're the ones that are actually causing the destabilization of America. And if you don't believe that this is a destabilization of America, go back to 2008 and look at all the policies that Barack Obama put into office, put in during his term. And then in 2012, he removes the requirement that our news organizations must be truthful to the American people. Why would any president do that? I think you need to ask yourself those questions. Why would any president want our news organizations to be able to provide us propaganda? And that's where I'm going to leave you guys. And before I leave you guys, this is going to be the last thing I show you. If you guys would like to watch this, you can do it on your own time. But here is what I put together for the memorial, if you guys are interested.
Where the left calls people enemies of the Republic, calls them fascists, says they're Nazis, says they're evil, says they have to be removed, and then prints their addresses. What do you think they're trying to do?
because we are the lions. We are the lions. All right, guys. Well, that kind of is the ending of our show. Please don't forget to say prayers for Charlie Kirk's family, the community he affected, and more importantly, the world. Thank you all for being here. I'm glad that I'm sure this show didn't go off without hitches on your end, but I was thankful that I could do the show, an actual show versus the phone. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you soon. God bless.